Good Memorial Day, Monday, and welcome to the Order of Monday Morning. Om. I don't know if anyone's watching today. It's been a long weekend, and everybody's got something to do, unless a tornado is taking you away or something like that, or you're being incinerated in your tent somewhere. Uh, anyway, so I'm going to kind of make this a short today and kind of share with you what I was musing on this morning on my walk to the to Temple Coffee Shop, and that is concerning the importance of magical invocation, or just invocation, period. You don't have to think that you're a magician or a formal wizard of any kind. It's sort of a universal thing uh, for everyone who tries to connect with the source of things in the cosmos and in their lives and in their incarnations. There is, in sort of classic Western magical procedures, sort of that, you know, grew out of medieval magic and then sort of got itself hybridized and honed with the magicians of the Golden Dawn in the late 19th century. There's sort of a formula, step-by-step formula. You purify your area. Magician purifies their area in the same way that Zen monks keep their temple area or their meditation area spotlessly clean. Not only that, but they make a very tightly anal care in making it absolutely spotless. And in the process of making it the area spotless, it becomes a magical act in and of itself. So even though you purify your area and banish your area prior to doing anything, it's not you're not doing it in preparation for magic. The magic has begun. As a matter of fact, the magic begins when you decide in no uncertain terms that you are going to do magic with the intent of doing magic, okay? So from that point on, everything is magic. And of course, if you look at it kind of from the Zen point of view, it's just as high an act of worship and attunement as the full-blown invocation of where you're talking to God directly and stuff like that. But in the West, you start off by purifying your temple, and you do it with water, just like the Zen monks washing the floor, and then with fire. Okay, we usually take a candle, and what it's doing to your brain is just marvelous stuff because you're cleaning up your brain too. You're setting the stage. You're getting yourself going. It is the overture of a great symphony of magic. And then one of the very first things you do after you purify and consecrate with fire, you banish the area. Now, if you're a Shinto priest, you take that that paper, it looks like a big paper mop, and you, okay, the area. And they say, well, it's to chase away evil spirits. Yeah, well, yeah, chase away evil spirits. What it's doing is chasing away the evil the spirits of your own tendency to be distracted. Okay, and so you've got your purification, you got your consecration, you got your banishing, and it looks like you're doing it in a room, but you're doing it in yourself naturally. Then the next major component in this series of preparatory steps is the invocation. Now, I had a terrible relationship with the term invocation. It didn't mean anything but something hypocritical and boring to me as a kid, because I was forced to go to all sorts of Methodist church things, and there's always an invocation. And some of them were kind of thought-provoking. The minister usually writes up their own according to what day of the year they were kind of observing. But it's pretty damn boring. But where I was raised in Nebraska, where there was a total blur between church and state. And the church we're talking about is the generic white bread Protestant church, at least in my neighborhood. There was the white bread Catholic universe, for our neighbors who were Catholic. But either Protestant or Catholic, in school, there was an invocation before any convocation or any important convocation. There were even invocations before football games. And now Reverend, Claude Akins from the First Church of Christ will deliver the invocation before our football game. And everybody stands up and, King Jesus, we thank you for all these young men in the combat field of sports. It's just stupid, okay? And it was hypocritical, okay? And it was tantamount to a prayer asking for your team to win. Look down, bless these boys in their combat, Invocation seems stupid. Okay, so when it came to my study of magic and stuff, and I saw the invocations, and I started to become familiar with invocations as practiced in the Golden Dawn. Invocation of Thoth, invocation of Artemis, invocation, and they were beautiful in their own way, and they were formulated within themselves. A little formula of invocation. You start off by saying, we invoke the old great Thoth who stands in the boat and does this, and Thoth with the ibis head that dips deep in my heart, and or not really, but all the attributes. Thou with the golden apron with the incredible embroidery, and thou who hast accompanies the beard to all the attributes. all of the little chores that it does and all of its mythology and everything else. Now it makes sense. First of all, you have to become aware of it because these are subtleties within the planetary sphere or the spiritual level that these gods are representative of. So it's homework that's well founded and well rewarded. But it goes on and on. Oh, thou with the this and the that, and oh, thou with the that and that. And then there's a little break in between. The invocation's not over. And then you ask the God to charge you with those qualities too, until the third and climactic part of the invocation is that you are speaking of the God. I, who with my ibis long beak delivers my own enema, or you're speaking in the first person as the God. That's the key, okay? That's the key. And perhaps for the incredibly well-educated and well-heeled magicians of the Golden Dawn, whose introduction to ecstatic anything in their tight-assed English life was poetry. That touched them, okay? That was their introduction to ecstatic spiritual evolution, was poetry. Unfortunately, most of us aren't so well appreciative of the lyrical shot in the arm that poetry can evoke in a person. But they were, and they thought nothing of 4 pages of thou who's this, thou who's this, thou who's this, and bringing to mind every one of the little episodes of the life of the God and everything else. They thought nothing of it. But the key is in that last section where it says, I'm that. I who do this and I who do that. That's the invocation. Because from that point on, because there's magic still to do, but you're not doing it as the magician, you're doing it as Thoth. That's the kind of the key to the formula. I got a couple things that from a speech or a talk I did. Magical invocation is the key component of every magical working. It is the key. I know it may sound like a pretty sweeping statement. You might rightly point out that there are thousands of magical systems and traditions, each having its own particular pantheon of gods, each having its own particular spiritual worldview, or myth, or doctrine, or dogma. While most spiritual traditions don't actually use the word magic to describe their particular practices and techniques, from my point of view, and by the broadest definition of the term, magic is exactly what they're practicing. Public or private, liturgical or non-liturgical. Things like common prayer, confession, meditation, devotional ceremonies, festivals, sacrifices, Eucharists, spirit evocation, conjurations, divination, spells, and curses. All these practices are essentially magical rituals. And all of them require a power source. a magic electricity. And in one way or another, that magical electricity must be properly accessed, activated, and channeled by a willed act on the part of the individual. That willed act is the invocation. So when I say that the invocation is the key component of magic, I really mean it. Here's an example of a simplified protocol highlighting the major landmarks of a generic magic ceremony. At least it's the general format of many rituals of Western ceremonial magic. You begin by declaring a solemn oath to God, affirming your will to execute this particular act of magic. Then you itemize your impressive credentials and boast a bit about your presumptuous qualifications. This is all to put you in your place. You are, of course, making these pronouncements to God and to an audience of every archangel, spirit, and demon in the cosmos. But let's get real for a moment. While you're doing all this boasting, you're really only trying to convince yourself that you have the authority to do what you're doing. In order to bamboozle the spirits that you're a magician, you first have to bamboozle yourself that you're a magician. So go ahead and make these really audacious and narcissistic proclamations of your magical credentials. Then, immediately after pumping yourself up, you switch gears and contrast all that with a heartfelt and humbling confession. Frankly admitting that in spite of all your greatness, you are nonetheless quite aware of your own serious flaws and shortcomings. Can you see what's going on here? You are taking yourself on a roller coaster ride of self-reflection and honesty. And affirming to yourself that you're willing to look at the truth and let it all go. Let your credentials go. Yes, you have them. You declared them to the, oh, I'm adeptus thisness, and oh, I'm adeptus presumptuous, and I'm a second-class Boy Scout, and I did all of this. But really, I'm just kind of a stupid, very flawed and selfish individual, you know. It works, guys. Then, after you've boldly revealed both sides of your nature, you follow up by asserting to God and all the cosmos that in spite of all your flaws, it is your unambiguous intention and magical will to carry out the object of the operation. And there's nothing in heaven or earth that is going to prevent you from doing it. Next in the protocol, you banish and purify and consecrate your working area temple. And then, after you've made it clear to yourself and the gods who you are and what you're here to do, and once you've cleared a nice, clean, safe area for you to do it in, then, only then, are you prepared for the invocation. Invocation really is the essential key to the success of every operation. Because like the keystone of an arch, the entire structure of every magical ceremony will come tumbling down if the keystone of invocation is removed, or it's too weak to firmly hold up all the stones on either side of it securely in place. In more direct language, in order to master and direct spirits or specific energies, powers, or forces appropriate to the operation, the operator must become the keystone. And in the rites of ceremonial magic, the keystone is Solomon, the archetypal magician. You need to become Solomon. It's no longer you who boasted your credentials or you who revealed your shortcomings. That, the real you, both of those things have to go, and you have to become Solomon. Because it's only Solomon that can complete the invocation. As a young student of the Western mysteries, I was thoroughly enchanted by the stories of the celebrated magicians of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The dramatis personae of this modern myth could not have been more colorful. Then I talk about the dashing, William Butler Yeats, etc., etc., etc. The backdrop of this tale, as backdrop of this tale, what more romantic milieu could we ask than the Homer, as the Homer Simpson's London, as the Holmes and Watkins-esque world of late Victorian London. Okay. An important cast member of this drama, however, was not a person but a book. An ancient book of magic penned in German between 1387 and 1427 by a German Jew known as Abraham of Worms. Originally titled Book of Abramelin. In 1750, a French translation of the text rested virtually undisturbed in the Bibliothèque d'Arsenal in Paris until 1893, when it was translated into English by Samuel L. MacGregor Mathers, who subsequently published it in England as the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage. This book would have a profound impact on the world of Western occultism and elevate the oft-denigrated art of spirit evocation to a status equal to the sacred spiritual sciences of the East. The feature that sets the sacred magic apart from contemporary grimoires, some which oblige the would-be magicians to embark on scavenger hunts for bat's blood and body parts of exotic amphibia, is the doctrine that states, and I'll paraphrase, that in order to wield godlike magical powers, the magician must first actually be possessed of godlike virtues of character. This is not to argue that it's impossible for retrobate magicians by memorizing and following certain recipes in formulaic magic to temporarily bamboozle the unredeemed spirits into obedience, but it's a tenuous ability at best. First of all, unenlightened magi are not possessed of sufficient clarity of vision to determine whether or not their desires and actions are in harmony with their own best interests. Secondly, spirits who apparently have an eternal season tickets to every performance of Faust and Don Giovanni inevitably ferret out chunks in the moral armor of the magician and amplify and exploit these weaknesses in order to extricate themselves from the magician's control. On the other hand, the magician who has gained a sufficient level of spiritual illumination and self-realization is qualified by the virtue of who or she is to safely summon and wisely command the spirits and put their potentiality or put their potentially dangerous powers to use toward more noble ends. Okay, now, Book of Abramelin, of course, characterizes this this perfected being that the magician should be, using the imagery and concept of the holy guardian angel, with whom once you are wed to, form a single unit, and that single unit is the reflection of the deity itself. It's an invocation of the holy guardian angel in order to be the magician that can then do the magic. So it's not a matter of what a magician does. Like I say, the retrobate magician, following certain recipes of magic, can get a certain amount of stuff done, but that's only because simply following out the recipe and sort of hit and miss, funkily identifying with, and certain things get themselves triggered and certain things happen. But that's not the big magic thing that you should be doing. The big magic thing is not doing magic. It's becoming the magician that does magic. It's not what you do. It's who you are. And because we're so close to ourselves, we don't know when we've become who we are, or we don't immediately know who we are because we take our consciousness with us. So it's a self-transformational process of which often we're the last people to recognize that it's happened. But still, this is why Crowley says, the singular magical act that a magician must do is the invocation of the holy guardian angel. Until that happens, all other magic that you would attempt has the high likelihood of rebounding back at you, and in a sense is black magic, because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't know what's in your own best interest. You're shooting yourself in the magical foot all the times. This is why my teacher, Phyllis Seckler, when I told her I was doing all this Goetic stuff, she said, no, you're not ready to do that. Get your holy guardian angel, and then you'll realize you don't. I mean, she was actually 100% true. Okay, that was true. But I needed to do a great deal of clearing out things. I needed to do a great deal. I needed to learn a whole lot of lessons. I needed to discover things in my own way. Okay, because magic is not something you take someone else's word for. And that's my Memorial Day speech for today. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope the severe weather around the world is treating you okay, and we'll see you tomorrow, probably from some exotic parking lot. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Go be a Solomon.